Start your engine. The Mini may not win at Bathurst like it used to. But what it will do is get you safely around 500 miles on 2 tanks full of gas. That's around 42 miles to the gallon. And while the big guns are slipping in a slide, Mini's just following its nose.
The week after Easter, I'm playing again. The weather has changed a little bit. We had a really couple of hot days and then it's rained overnight and the coolness has come in. So out come the old flannel shirts, the old flannel, mate. I've had to work on the Hilux here. The diff oil in the rear was colored like a chocolate milkshake, and it's new oil. And it's only done 200 kilometers since I've restored it and driven it. So I've done an oil change on that this morning. The rear diff upper bolt is damaged. It's the threads all stuffed, so I've had to change the oil and then put some thread tape on and some RTV sealant on the nut as I've screwed it in. So I don't want to start that up and move it and have that oil circulating. So that's going to be stuck here today, which limits my work on the Mini. In the light of day, it was a bit dark the other day, in the better light, there's more grease and oil down in here, and up in the corner here, this is where the rust is. I didn't think it was that bad, but I'll bring the light in a bit. On that seam there, below the indicator. So all up in there is going to cop some treatment with some rust blast, and maybe even a stylium rust converter. I've got some of that to spray on too. So what I'm going to do, while the nugget is stuck inside, I'm going to put the light under there and try and clean it a little bit more and get some rust treatment on it. Oh, and I might even work on these. I was meant to go to Cars and Coffee in the Nugget this morning, but it's been raining. And you all know I don't want to put any schnacks underneath the Krania, I call it, underneath the Lux, because she's like new. All right, let's get to work. Just realised that I need about half a dozen or so of the shitty little brushes that I use to keep degreasing. I need a Z418 oil filter according to what's on the car and my research, and because I need to do an oil change, and some degreasers. So I'm going to head up to Autobahn right now. Maybe Shannon's there. I don't know. We'll see. Off we go. Wait. I bought one of these 2 years ago nearly, and that fell off inside that part fell off inside the jerry can. So Shannon's been a good girl and given me another one in exchange. I'm going to put a clamp on it this time. I'm all over the place with this bloody thing at the moment. I'm 1 minute I'm doing something in the wheel arches and painting, and the next minute I'm trying to clear coat the rust. I'm taking the grill off and the bumper bars off, and I don't know, it's a small car, but it just seems to be a lot of little things to do because I don't think it's really been touched. I think the original shockies are still on it from 1974. God help us. Again, I'm just making this neat and tidy and everything sort of that I can do maintenance wise, clean, rust converter on everything, rust sealed, greasing up any nipples that I see, lots of nipples, making the paint look good, basically a service, and then the interior. I'm sort of flitting between one thing and another. I'm losing my shit. All right, I'm working on these flares obviously, and the three of them aren't too bad. This is probably the second worst one. They're the rear flares over here. The front ones seem to be abused the most. And I was trying to put some JB Weld on it, but I'm thinking what I'm going to do is put that on and then sit it on the car, and that way it should hold its shape. Let's go and have a go. Now it's sunny, Oxy. It's just hanging on by a thread. So I'm going to put it on there and there. So I've clamped it on into roughly what the position would be when it's repaired. We'll fill that and level it off, and then we should be able to paint it, but let's hope that holds. And we're back in the garage again this morning. Let's take a look at these beauties, these gems. All right, that looks pretty good. So we've kept our shape. It's still a bit tacky, so what I'll do is I've got to wait till that's really hard. It's a bit tacky at the moment. I'm going to stand that right back, flush. We'll sand the whole lot, and then we'll put our black on. The one on the car that we clamped on yesterday, that's gone off nice too. Yeah, and I'm going to do some more rust coating. Now, when you do the rust converter on the rusty bits, it turns black. So I thought, instead of painting a lot of the underside and all of the frames and what do you call it, torsion bars and ball joints, all that kind of stuff, I'm just going to put the rust converter on there, and it'll have a natural black patina about it as well. So I'm going to set about doing that. I know what I'll do. I'm going to take the bonnet off, and maybe even the boot, and work on them separately. Alright, as you can see, we've got to this just in time. We've got a little bit of bubbling up against the back plate here, back of the seat. That corner seems to be the worst. Floor is good. So I'm going to clean this down, get rid of it all. We will degrease everything, and then we'll treat that as well with the rust. There's a little hole there, look at that. One little hole. Anyway, let's get into it. Some of my boot. Voila, that is looking very nice and rust proofed. So there's no way that anything's going to go wrong with that. I mean, shit like this up here, that could be an issue down the track, but I'm not worried about that at the moment. That's just the body seam sealer that's cracking up. So yeah, that's done. Alright, so I've done the boot, we've given the roof a bit of a, tried that clear out again on the roof. I'm not going to have enough to paint it, so I'm just going to use up what I can, and then I'll put acrylic over the top. We know we've got a natural patina happening on the roof and on the sides here and there. I want to keep that theme here. So originally I was going to leave it all primed. It's a bit of an eyesore, so what I'm going to do is I've sanded back all the primer that I can back to the bog. I've gone and got some rattle cans this morning, tried to match the colour as best as possible. We're going to tape off what we need to tape off, throw a couple of light coats over that, let it go hard, and then I'm going to actually sand back these areas where the steel is coming through, the body panel, the metal, to induce some rusting. So I've got some stuff for that as well, so that the patina can be in this corner. So I don't want it to look this ugly, But we're going to try and get some patina happening here, some rust. And then these these bits here and here and here should look okay. The boot lid, I thought I had a really cool idea, but it's just too much money to do. I was going to vinyl wrap it with some kind of cool mural. I'm not happy with that, so I've got the rattle cans. I'm going to make some rust patches on the boot lid so that the difference, because it's a different color, it doesn't match exactly, and when it's all together it stands out. So to take the eye away from that, we're going to break it up a little bit by adding this kind of idea, the rust patina, onto the boot lid as well. So it looks like the back of it sat out in the weather for most of its life. That's the plan. Whether I can execute it, I do not know. But we will try. Just briefly, before we wind the video up, keeping on the rusty theme, that's one bit of rust I prepared earlier with some hydrochloric acid and hydrogen peroxide, salt and vinegar, and sounds like some chips, doesn't it? I originally told you that I was going to paint these flares black. Now this is the one I repaired earlier in the video. As you can see, it doesn't look too bad now. The back's still pretty horrendous. So yeah, I was going to paint them black to disguise them a little bit, but I want this car to look rather chunky and gnarly, and I want to really promote this patina, this rust look. So I'm actually going to turn this plastic, one's fiberglass, I'm going to turn it into rusty metal. You want to know how? You better watch next week, because it's a little bit of a trick I learned when I used to be a home renovator. So yeah, these will look like rusty metal next time on Flip My Ride. Go find it, buy it, fix it, flip it, have some fun along the way. Remember, Rushy, and we'll catch you next time. Ciao.